dear students, I welcome you back to the session. I hope you all are doing good. So in the last session we discussed on various testing techniques under black box testing. So we discussed requirement based testing, we discussed positive and negative testing, and I gave you the example also, and we also discussed boundary value analysis testing. So in today's session we will discuss decision table and many other different testing techniques. So basically a program will be characterized by some decision variables. So each program will have some decision variables, and these decision variables specify a Boolean condition. It can be true or false, or it can be 0 and 1. Okay, so with the distinct combination of these variables, these lead to different scenarios, right? So the different combination will lead to a different decisions or different scenarios, and so one has to represent the data point from each scenario which should be tested. So now let us see an example of decision table. So this shows the decision table column in a tabular way. So let us take an example of transferring money online to an account which is already added or approved. Okay, and here the condition to transfer money is what? Account already approved and OTP and matched and sufficient money in the account. So these are all the some condition for the money to transfer online. And the actions that are performed are transfer money and show a message as insufficient amount and block the transaction in case of suspicious transaction. So these are all the some actions that are performed in this example. Okay, so here we decide under the what condition the action to be performed, right? So you can see in the decision table, so these are the test cases written for this particular action, okay, action or condition. So I have, for example, 5 test cases for all these actions and conditions. So the T means you know it is true. So the test case is satisfied. So it is giving you the expected output and the test case is passed. So you say it as true. And F means it is failed. So the test case is failed for some particular reason. X is sometime not applicable feature, and execute means the transfer money is executed successfully. So this is an example of decision table. Let us see the next one, equivalence partitioning. So this is a generalization of boundary value analysis and the decision table. So this actually you have a set of defined classes wherein you divide it and make a grouping. So divide the set of values into some set of equivalence classes or partitions. So you make a partitions. It is very helpful to minimize the number of test cases you have written. So for example, you have written 10 test cases for one feature, so you can reduce it, right? So you make it half of it, and then when the input data can be divided into the distinct set, so you can minimize the number of test cases by using the equivalence partitioning. Next one is state based testing. So in this it is defined as the software testing technique in which the changes in the input condition causes the state change in the application which is under the test. So it is also a black box testing technique in which the tester analyzes the behavior of the application under test for different input conditions in a sequence. So basically in this technique what happens, tester provides both positive and negative inputs value. Okay, so both input and negative input and positive input values he provides, and then test the systems, and you will record the system change or system behavior. So it is useful for language processor or compilers, and it is useful for workflow modeling and also data flow modeling. Next is compatibility testing. So as the name itself indicates, compatibility So we need to check whether your developed application is compatible with different operating systems or different hardware configuration or different network setups. Okay, so this is to ensure that the product works consistently in different infrastructure components. So for example, I have developed my application and I need to run, or I need to test that application in all the different operating systems, right? So we have different operating systems, different versions of operating systems, or you can also consider different versions of your web browser. So all these versions you have to test your application with, because people will not be using the same operating system, same browser. So everybody has their own choice of using their operating system or network setup or hardware setup. So compatibility testing is very important. So the next one is user documentation testing. So here what happens, it is done to check if what is stated in the document is available in the product or not. So what is given in the SRS document is available in the product or not, we need to test it. And it is also to check if what is there in the product is available in the document or not. So you need to cross check in both the ways. So first you will check whether the product has all the content or all the required features which are stated in the document, and next, so all the so you need to check if there is there are features in the product which is available in the document or not. So like the documents include your user guides and then installation guides, setup guides, and sometimes readme files and software release notes, and also online help. So every software or every online app will have some help, right? So these are all documentation are satisfying or not, you need to check. Next one is domain testing. So to have a domain testing, you need to have a complete knowledge about your application, domain knowledge of your application. So for example, you are developing a hospitality management application. So you should have a complete knowledge about hospitality industry. So the domain people perform the tests by using the software. So if they don't have that domain knowledge, they will gain that knowledge in the training period, and they understand the application, then start the testing. So here the business flow determines the test, not the logic or the steps. So here the business flow will determine the tests which are done, not actually the logic or steps, right? So then the tests what the user do on a typical business day, and he also captures the typical problems which he faces every day. So these are all the use cases which are done to test whether the user is getting the expected output or not, or expected results or not. So let us consider this picture. So you have knowledge of program code available with you. So then you will perform the white box testing. If no, you try to do the domain knowledge testing or black box testing. So if you have that complete knowledge about the domain, so you do the black box testing. And even though if you don't have the black box testing or domain knowledge, so you go back to the you customer, you call up or you have a meeting with him and understand what is the product all about. Then you understand it and do the black box testing. So these are all the some of the various techniques of black box testing. So in the next session, we will continue on the integration testing and system testing. Thank you, students.